I have some new tour dates to tell you about. I'll be in Boise, Idaho on June 28th at the Extra Mile Arena. Idaho Falls, Idaho on June 29th at the Hero Arena. And Salt Lake City, Utah on June 30th at the Maverick Center. Pre-sale is active now for these dates with code RATKING. General on sale starts Wednesday, May 1st at 10 a.m. local time. Today's guest is a financial advisor and a radio host. You know him from the Ramsey Show, where he gives advice to callers who have questions about their finances. He has a 2-day live stream event coming up later this month, which we'll talk a little bit about. I'm grateful to spend time with him today, Mr. Dave Ramsey.
Shine that light on me. I'll sit and tell you my stories. Shine on me, and I will find a song I will sing it.
I can't believe you guys made my studio here, Dave.
We just want you to be we want you to be home and come back again.
Well, yeah, I'll
Come
stay.
Anytime.
I'll stay, man.
Apparently, it's no big deal.
I didn't know you guys had you guys were running Airbnbs here. Yeah, we totally replicated my studio here in your Ramsey. Is this a campus pretty much?
Yeah, I guess that's what we call it.
Yeah. And is it, so you have investment, like what's on the campus? Because it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We've got 2 office buildings and, of course, the main lobby area where we broadcast the shows on the glass. So the area for the public to come in and hang out while we're doing the shows. And then we've got a 2,500-seat auditorium up on the hill up there that we do events in, the event center. So it's been quite an adventure.
Like what type of events will you do up there?
Well, we do our Ramsey events. I mean, we've got, number one, we got 1,100 team members, so we do staff meeting up there and devotional on Wednesday up there. And then, but we'll do weekend-long events. We've got a money and marriage event with Rachel Cruz, my daughter, and Dr. John Deloney, 2 of our Ramsey personalities in the fall. It'll be mammoth. We'll have it sold out here in a couple of weeks for a Total Money Makeover weekend. So it's public coming in for public events to learn something that we're doing, usually around the money subject or the leadership subject. We use it for our entree leadership stuff. So it stays pretty busy.
Wow. Yeah, it's remarkable. Dave Ramsey, man. Yeah, thanks so much, man. So just for a lot of our viewers will know you, but some who wouldn't. So you started out in finance. Like, how did you get in? Like, what made you care about money out of the gate? Like, did you guys have allowance issues in the home?
Yeah, we did.
You did?
Yeah, we were not on allowance. We were on commission. Work, get paid. Don't work, don't get paid. So, yeah, I grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood, so Daddy believed in work. Like real work. Like I was 12 years old and I came in and said, I need some money to go to the Quick Sack and get an icy. And he said, no, you need a job. Wow. He said, what could you do? And I said, well, I guess I could cut grass. And he took me down here on Nolensville Road and printed up 500 business cards that said Dave's Lawns. Go knock on the closest 50 doors and ask the opportunity to provide their lawn care needs. So at 12, I ended up with 27 yards to cut. Wow. So I think they call that child abuse now.
Yeah, look, yeah. Well, yeah, I think if you force a kid to get a job nowadays, I think the protective services will come and get you.
That's exactly right.
You know,
so,
it's pretty. Sometimes it can be like that. It can be kind of alarming.
There wasn't a protective service that would protected them from my parents, but but yeah. So anyway, we grew up doing that, and then I started buying and selling real estate in my 20s, and got rich starting from nothing. And I had, at least where I came from, I mean, I had $1 million net worth, and I was making $20,000 a month in 1983.
Oh, yeah.
So, but then
that's rich. What were you driving?
A Jag. Yeah. That's what I always, because none of my friends could spell Jaguar, so I needed a Jaguar.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I'd done stupid stuff and too much debt. The bank got sold, called our notes, and spent the next 3 years of our life losing everything. And that's what made me care about money, to answer your question.
Wow, because if you go to a high pretty early, that's wild.
Yeah.
So did you think at that point you thought, oh, this is it? Life's just going to be a...
Yeah, I thought I had it. I thought I had it all dialed in, and I had nothing dialed in.
Dang.
I was stupid on steroids, yeah. And so we, with a brand new baby and a toddler and a marriage hanging on by a thread, we got the opportunity to start again in 1988, September 23rd.
Well, you remember it like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this day we filed bankruptcy. That's hell day, you know. So,
Do you have to go to the bank to file it, or how do you do it?
no, it's a federal court. It's a nice little procedure that you go through that's pretty intimidating. But
And were you still like, was your dad still like a mentor at that point for business or anything? Was that
no, they had moved away by then, and I had guys around here that were family friends and stuff that we'd grown up with. But
wow.
But I had started a faith journey. I'd met God, and so as an adult, because I was pretty much a wild character in my youth, and so I started finding out that the Bible said something about money, and then I started talking to old rich people, and both of these things said, you know, just common sense. Just live on less than you make. Have a plan. Get out of debt. And, you know, I've got all these degrees and letters and licenses and crap after my name that says I'm supposed to know something about money, but I was broke, and so I needed a new set of information. So I found common sense and started using it. And then people started asking us, okay, how did you turn your life around after all that garbage? And we went, well, this is what we did. And they went, can we do it? I'm like, yeah. And we started showing people. And then, you know, 35 years later, here we are showing people,
Wow.
millions of them.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I mean, everybody knows Dave Ramsey, and everybody's had, you know, has used you for financial guidance and stuff over the years, or gone to you with certain questions. I know you guys take so many questions on your show. And with that turnaround moment, was there like, did it lead you to be like, I need more than just believing that finances are going to take care of me, or like?
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the journey there. I mean, somebody said, how'd you bounce back? And I'm like, dude, when you fall that far, you don't really bounce. It's more of a splat. So, you know, we hit
and ladders.
We sat around, whined and moaned and blamed everybody else for about a year, and, you know, figured out finally it wasn't everybody else's fault, is my fault. I caused it. I'm the idiot, signed up for the trip and got to take it. So I had to course correct and adjust. And so, yeah, I think our faith, our new faith at that point, it was very young and tender, and not a lot of knowledge or anything. But anyway, we're just trying to figure out, how do you navigate with two little babies and sitting here broke. And, you know, my wife's from the hills of East Tennessee. Frying pan throwing there's an Olympic event. You know, I mean, it's like, it's a hillbilly woman. So
oh yeah,
it was rough, and so we about killed each other. And I think she would have left, but she didn't have a car. So, but yeah, so I mean, that's the stuff that we did. But again, gradually, we just sat down with the yellow pad and said, okay, here's what we have coming in. We can't spend more than that, and we're always going to give some. We're always going to save some. And we're going to feed ourselves. And then what do we do next? And then the next week. And then the next week. And, okay, now we got to get a little bit better. And started gradually getting our income back up. And it was not a bounce back. It was years, it feels like. But then, you know, the thing about this stuff, this common sense thing, it's not a microwave. It's a crock pot.
Yeah.
It cooks up good, but it takes a while.
It takes a long while, yeah. And then sometimes you realize, you look in the thing and you're like, I don't even have this thing plugged in either.
There's that too, yeah. There's that problem.
You're just sitting there and watching a bowl of cold meat water for 8 hours. So sometimes
sounds like it's from experience. Might have just happened, yeah.
I've been through some things, yeah. Well, if you don't have a wife, you have a crock pot.
This is true.
I mean, it's definitely, and it's a sad day for a man when you realize, you're like, oh, damn, this is, you know, when you go in to get your crock pot, you know.
That's signing up for it right there.
It is, really. And you name her. Some people name it after a woman, and I'm like, well, this is getting a little crazy, I feel like. But when you look at, like, yeah, like when I think back on jobs that I had, like I was, you know, I used to sell hamsters outside of raves when I was young. I worked in dairy. I sold Mexican food door to door. I used to clean out wishing wells in our town. We had a plethora of wells in our parish. What else? Collecting cans and taking them over to the scales. I sold Italian or semi-Italian food. Just all types of things. And I try to offer suggestions to, like, people that were like me growing up, like, how do you find a job that could start to change? Like, if you don't have much. And I often go to like pressure washing. That's what I'll tell people. You buy a pressure wash, you can get a pretty good one for about $600, and then you can start a business. You can make your Dave's Lawn Care cards, and next, 2 weeks later, you're a dang business owner. And, are there suggestions like you have like that for people that are like, like, and it can be a first job even, like, what do I start? I mean, lawn care is a great one.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me what people will pay you to do if you're just willing to go do it and you show up on time. And then I think the piece that goes with that is, okay, you don't want to start pressure washing and go, hey, I want to be 63 years old, which is what I am, and still be pressure washing. That's not a plan. But to get you through this week, you can do a lot of pressure washing. You're right. That you can turn it into a car detail company and then turn it into something else and then sell that and do something else. And what I figured out was these wealthy people, they don't think, thank God it's Friday, oh God it's Monday. They're not living for the weekend, right? Yeah. They're every move they make is a step towards where I want to be in 10 years, who I want to become. And so, okay, I might be pressure washing so I can get the money to go to code school, pay $10,000 and go to code school. Oh, then you can make $150 a year coding, right? And so, what's the step? What's the method to get there? What's the path to get there? And so, the problem I think sometimes is if you feel like you're taking a job like that, and I've done all that, not the exact same thing, but I've done a bunch of crappy jobs too, and entrepreneurial things, and I buy an old car at a repo lot and come home, fix it up, put it back on the market. And back in those days, there were classified ads in the newspaper. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so we'd turn around and sell the car or buy a bunch of junk at some auction. I was there to buy the house, but I'd buy half the estate and then turn it into a garage sale next weekend.
Oh, yeah. You got a damn Pontiac full of candelabras or something.
That's it,
driving
man.
off with.
You get some deals on stuff. And so it was a lot of fun. Horse trading, we called it growing up, but no horses involved. But there was, somebody knew how to buy something and flip it over.
Or go to the police auction. That was always a big thing.
That's a lot of fun. There's some weird stuff there, man.
Is there?
But yeah, and the all that stuff, and so, but it needs to be that's not where you're staying. It's a path of where you're going, and that changes everything. It's like even your this meteoric, fabulous, famous career that you've done. I mean, you're just amazing. Congratulations. And
thanks, man.
But I mean, there's a lot of bad comedy clubs in the lineup.
Oh, yeah.
With wrong people in the audience before you get to be the Theo Vaughn of today. There's a price to be paid to win. You don't win. You're an overnight success. Yeah, I worked my butt off for 30 years to be an overnight success. You worked your butt off for a decade plus to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
And just because somebody found you on Netflix last week, that doesn't mean you just started on that. That didn't how it happened.
Right, yeah. I mean, even when I think back, like I used to get all these I would get all the email cards and go before the shows and put them on all the tables so I could get back in touch with people. I would buy like the CD or DVD burner and burn a DVD and then sell it after the show. I'd burn it I remember when I got a 3-disc burner, so I could burn 3 at a time. Dude.
Wow! And what those sell for, man?
I had they were probably $300, $400.
Wow!
But you could get that little.
No, I'm not talking about the burner. What were you selling the CDs for?
Oh, the CDs for probably 10, but I'd take 8.
And volume discount too. If you want 10 of them to give for Christmas presents, I'll set you up. Yeah.
Oh, I sold one to a lady one time. This was in Mishawaka, Indiana. She bought one. She drove 3 hours home. She said it didn't work, and she drove back the next day to come and change it. I was like, it's just a dang $8.
Yeah.
She spent more in gas, but I guess it was just the point of making sure she got what she paid for, which I understand. But yeah, when I think about all the different things or missing certain like events in people's lives or something to work, like sometimes I wish I'd have had a little bit better balance. But also liked working. Mm-hmm. I think I really liked it. But yeah, I don't think it's as easy as having like things evolve though too. Like one thing I'm thinking, say if you start a pressure washing, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to start to learn how to do business. Mm-hmm. That's something you don't realize you're going to learn by starting a business sometimes, is that you're going to learn how to do business. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, you might have an employee. And then you're like, oh, wow, now I'm an employer. I've never been an employer. What's that like? And you just learn, like, you'll do taxes in business, that you'll file for LLC. You'll do all these things. And And then you're just building up knowledge. And then part of you, or for me, I notice, will start to bloom a little bit and be like, well, now what else do I want to do? Because you've seen one thing that you tried and started with, you've seen it work or not work even. You've learned that, hey, it didn't work out. But yeah, the more like kind of steps you take into doing business, the more that you become somebody who walks like a business guy in some ways.
Well,
I think.
you change your identity. You change who you are. I mean, I'm not the little redneck hillbilly kid, hell raising that I was when I was in high school. I got a lot less hair for one thing, but I'm also not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
From that matter, I've been married 43 years. My wife's not married the same guy she married 43 years ago. Thank God, because he wasn't much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What kind of hair do you have? Something good?
Not as good as yours.
Yeah.
I never got that, but I had that 70s thing going with the little feathers on the side. You remember those?
Yeah.
You don't remember them, but you've seen pictures. With
Oh, yeah. I've seen
the problem with the part down the middle is the part gets wide if you're not careful. So,
yeah. Dude, what would you say to like somebody who's going into business with a friend? That's one thing I think about a lot of times. What are things, so like a partnership with a friend, right? Or starting a partnership with just a new business person. It could even be a spouse. Like, what do you say? Like, what are pitfalls that people can look out for in advance of that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing we run into, we coach about 10,000 businesses with the Entree Leadership brand, small businesses, and they're anywhere from 5 to 200 team member size. Wow. And so what I tell those guys, and I'll be speaking to them, you know, we do an event with about 3,000 of them once a year. I'll be speaking to them in the next couple of weeks here. And so one of the things we tell them is really, your beer drinking buddy and you sitting around talking about opening a business is a bad idea. You know, one of y'all needs to open it and the other one needs to work there. And you can pay him out of the profits if you want. You can be generous. But anything with two heads is a monster. And they only ship on sales or partnership. So generally speaking, don't do a partnership, generally. Yeah. Now, if you're going to have friends work on your team, which, I mean, I got a bunch of them. A bunch of my team is friends, and they either became friends while they're here or they were friends and then they came here. I've got family in the building. My kids work here in their 30s. And so how do you navigate that? Well, we had to learn from a family business perspective, and it works for friends as well, to separate the hat that we wear. Mm-hmm. And so my hat that I wear with my buddy, you know, it's friend, and, you know, we're having a cigar together or playing golf or we're doing whatever. It says friend on it, right?
Fantasy football, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And so, but when we're at work, my hat says CEO.
Right.
And his says, you know, technology or whatever. And so you do your job, I'll do my job, and I'm going to treat you like I would treat the other team members, because I treat them all nice and good and with dignity. I don't yell and scream and cuss at people. So, I mean, we treat them right. And you're going to treat me with the same respect that you would if you worked in a place when the CEO walked in the room. Not that you bow or something like that, but you don't you don't roll your eyes and go, you don't use friend talk at your CEO.
Yeah.
You know? And so you change
you can't
hats.
run up and tickle them or whatever.
Well, yeah, that's strange. But yeah, but the But the idea being that, like, my kids, you know, my daughter Rachel Cruz is a huge personality, 3, 4 number 1 bestsellers, and, you know, speaks all over America. Is constantly on the network TV and stuff, and we've got 8 of those people that are personalities that do different things, and so she gets paid not as my daughter, but based on the work that she does there, and then. When I'm, you know, she's got 3 of my grandkids, so when I got Papa Dave hat on when I'm with the grandbabies at Thanksgiving dinner. But when we're here, I'm dealing with her. Everybody in the room knows she's my daughter, but I treat her the same way I would treat Dr. John Deloney or Ken Coleman, the other personalities as well. So you just got to separate that and wear different hats. So when you're wearing your friend hat, then act that way. And, you know, when you're at work, you're wearing this hat, and, you know, you've got to perform, I've got to perform. And so family doesn't get a pass, and friend doesn't get a pass for incompetence or, you know, just I'm not going to come to work today. No, that's not how we're all coming to work today.
Yeah. Yeah. If you are going into business with a friend, what are something that people can, like, what discussions need to be had up front? Say you're going into a partnership with a buddy, you know, so you don't run into lawsuits down the line. Yeah.
Well, you may. Nothing you do keeps you from, I mean, people can file a lawsuit for anything. Even if it's not true, they can just make up something. So and they do. We've run into that. But what we tell folks, if you're going to do a partnership, make sure you got really good documentation And the best thing you can do is talk through and have in the document all the bad things that can happen. And a lot of them are D's: divorce, drug use, disinterest, I don't want to work anymore, disability, death. What happens when these things happen? So, because you may be just great working with your buddy and he owns half the company, but his wife's cuckoo and he dies. Now you're partnered with cuckoo.
Yeah.
That's a bad plan. So you need to have this laid out, what's going to happen in these situations. I had a guy working here that was one of our top leaders many years ago, got MS. He was driving home 6 miles home, got lost on the way home, brain lesions. And so he obviously became disabled. So what happens to that guy? He was one of my top guys. He was, he's paid off the bottom line like he was a partner, and just a wonderful man. He's passed away now. And, but how do you treat him? How do you treat his family in the worst case scenario, and how you going to take care of them? And because you want to take care of your buddy.
Yeah.
You don't want your buddy's kids to be homeless because
Yeah.
something happened to him if he's your partner. In this case, this guy was one of my right arms, So you just got to think that stuff through, because it's going to come. Something's going to come at you. And if you haven't anticipated it, because everybody goes into this stuff like, oh, it's all going to work. Nothing works like it's supposed to work, ever. It never works. It's never as easy as it sounds when you're sitting and talking about it the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you find yourself having unrealistic expectations about going into business spaces? That's some things that I've struggled with in my life, especially recently. It's like just unrealistic expectations that things are going to work or that they should be a certain way, like not leaving space for anything really, trying to just really have a lot of my own will, I guess. In some ways it is, but also it's just.
Observing you from the outside, I think you probably suffer from this intense desire to be excellent.
Yeah.
And all that means is you're excellent. And so if you demand that of yourself, it's okay to demand that of the situation, of the project, and of the people. I work my tail off, and so I don't hesitate if somebody's not, to go, hey, come on, pick it up.
Right.
It's not like I'm kicking back and asking you to go. No, I'm going.
Right.
So keep up.
Right.
And same thing with a project. We get on these projects now. So I still have unrealistic expectations. I do have a reality perception after 30 freaking years of doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I'm convinced we've survived about 90% of our ideas. Everything that's happened on about 10% of them. But when you're starting it, you're going for a walk in the morning and, or you're sitting on the dock having a cup of coffee at the lake and you have this idea. They're all good then. But when you're, $500,000 in and you go, oh, this sucks. Yeah. This is awful. Yeah. And so you come to the realization that even though we demanded excellence, even though we drove the lane, put the ball in the hoop, even though we didn't have product market fit, something's off, pricing's off, something's off. And but if you're not trying stuff, you're not growing.
Right.
So you got to try stuff, but you're gonna screw up a lot of it, even though you demand excellence. But I don't have a hesitation at all expecting excellence and expecting it. Why would you enter something you didn't think was going to work? Of course we think it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like a stupid reporter the other day is like, did you ever have any idea it would be this big? And I'm like, well, of course I did. Yeah. I'm getting people out of debt. There's like everybody is my market, Of course I thought it, but what I didn't know is how much work it was going to be. Yeah. I didn't have any idea I was going to have $100 million in payroll. Yeah. I didn't have any idea that it was going to take that to do it, but I knew there was a lot of need. I knew that it could be big, but I didn't know how bad it was going to be, how hard it was going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that, that's funny when I hear you say that, because, as I started to get busier with stuff that was business, I just wanted to be a comedian, mm-hmm. and then got into podcasting, and then you have employees, and then they have feelings and you have
and they have feelings.
Yeah, and you have relationships with them, and so it's like all these things. Next thing you know, it's like I spend a lot of my day, most of your time gets gone kind of because there's another responsibility, mm-hmm. and so then I'm just like, man, I didn't expect this much more work to come out of, I think just having some goals,
Yeah, I thought I was going to be on the radio and sell some books on getting out of debt. And I mean, who knew I needed 400 people in a tech department, you know? And so it's the same thing. You're exactly right. But the good news is that it, like you said earlier, it's an opportunity to learn, opportunity to grow. That way you don't just stay in the pressure washing business. And so I still enjoy the stage. I still enjoy being on the radio, on the podcast, the YouTube every day. We still do that show every day, 3 hours a day. I still enjoy all that stuff, but I also enjoy running this place. I'm running it with my son. He's the president now, and
that's awesome.
You know, we had breakfast this morning, and we're having a lot of fun working on the problems, and you know, looking at the new opportunities and all that. So it's the entrepreneurial side is fun.
Yeah.
Elevate every morning with Tommy John Second Skin underwear. Ooh. Don't you want more skin on you? Feeling groovy. What you put in your pants can make or break your day. We know that. Elevate every morning with Tommy John Second Skin underwear. Tommy John's stylish and soft second skin underwear has dozens of comfort innovations, like a supportive contour pouch and breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric with 4 times the stretch of competing brands. That's a lot. You know, I've been trying different pairs of boxer briefs for the past few months, and I'll say that Tommy John, they really got my number. That second skin, it's just like, God, it's just like feeling like part of your body's already in heaven. They do it well. Shop Tommy John's Friends and Family sale right now and get 25% off site-wide. Dang. At TommyJohn.com/Theo. That's right, save 25% for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/THEO. TommyJohn.com/Theo. See site for details. You know, when we started selling a T-shirt online, my friend Kevin made it in his basement, and he would ship it out. And then it grew, and people wanted a different shirt. And we put up something else, and then a hoodie, and then we had sometimes to have more, and sometimes we had too much. And all along the way, there to help us was ShipStation. That's right. If you run an e-commerce business, you can relate to the amount of work it takes to put it all together. Like us, you want to optimize your workflow. Well, ShipStation is the multi-carrier shipping solution that integrates wherever you sell online. And the best is as your business scales, whether it's scaling up or down, because they all fluctuate, ShipStation is right there to work with you. ShipStation is the innovative tool that helps turn your shipping challenges into opportunities for growth. Go to ShipStation.com and use code Theo to sign up for your free 60-day trial. That's ShipStation.com and use code THEO.
What do you say to like employees who want to talk to their employer about getting a raise or getting like, what is a good way to approach an employer about that kind of stuff? Like,
You know, a lot of stuff in business like that are relationship things. If you'll just switch the moccasins a minute, wear their moccasins. So if you were the supervisor or you're the owner of the business, how would you want someone to talk to you about it? And so, I mean, I really appreciate when our folks come in and go, hey, you know, I'm making this, and, you know, here's 2 or 3 positions in the marketplace that are more for the same position. And so, you know, what I'm curious about is what I can do to be worth what those people are doing, because I want to be worth more to the business. And if they say it that way, oh, man, yeah, I'm like, yeah. Okay, here, yeah. Well, matter of fact, you know, we probably have overlooked that. We probably just need to give you a raise. But maybe, yeah, maybe there's 3 things you need to do to level up to be ready to do that. And so it's an opportunity for growth and those kinds of things. Because really, this, you know, if you're an employer, your team has to make you more or save you more than they cost. Or by definition, you go out of business mathematically.
yeah.
And so if you'll look at that as a team member, it's like, how can I add more value than I cost or save more money, and depend on what they're working on, but than I cost, then, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer unless the employer's a jerk and greedy or whatever. But most employers are just trying to figure it out too. We're just trying to go, especially small business people. I mean, we love our people; they're family to us, and you know, we want to help them win. We want their kids to go to college. We want to be with them 20 years and watch them grow up. We want all that. We want good stuff for you. But we also don't want to close because we overpaid everybody and didn't make any stinking money.
Yeah.
So then everybody loses. So you've got this balance. The employer's got that stress they're carrying. So if you'll keep that in mind when you're asking, how can I add value that's more than I cost or save you more than I cost, then like I've got a lady in logistics. I mean, she saved us several $100,000 with contract negotiations with our logistics people on the shipping, more than she cost.
Wow.
Well, it's easy to say, yeah, you're worth that. That's a no-brainer. I like sharing with her. I mean, we always tell people around here, if you kill it and drag it home, go out there, kill it, drag it to the cave. I'll share it with you. Let's figure it out. You bring in $1 million in revenue. We can probably divvy that up. We can probably figure out something to do with that.
Yeah.
I don't need to take it all home, but also don't need to give it all to one person either. So we figure this out, and you can do that when you're adding value. And so just look at it that way, not like. On the other hand, I had a guy come in years ago, long time ago. And he'd been to school half his life. He had more degrees than a thermometer. And he just, he said, hey, man, at these big companies, people that got this many degrees, they make a certain amount of money. And he said, I'm not making that here. We need to adjust my income. And I said, well, dude, I'm sorry. This is a small business. Your raise is effective when you are. I mean, we don't pay you for degrees. We pay you for bringing in more than you cost, and right now you're not. So, he left and went and worked for corporate America, where they'll pay him for those degrees, and they can get away with that. But small business can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you say? Like, what is some of the or even just like to get a little bit more minute with it? Like, what are just, say somebody's out there listening, like, man, I feel like I want to talk to my boss about a raise, or should they tell themselves certain things to prep themselves to go in there? Should it just be comfortable? Because it's just a space where a lot of people get really uncomfortable, I think, Yeah,
anytime I'm in a situation like that where I'm uncomfortable, where there's conflict or a negotiation, if you want to call it that, I found that the more options I have, the calmer I am. And so if there's only one thing, I mean, if I don't get this, I'm dead. Mm-hmm. But if you got like 6 people wanting to hire you, and, you want to go in and go, hey, I'd like to stay, and I like it here, and I like you, and I want to work, but I got all this other stuff. Your body language changes. You don't have to be cocky about it. You don't have swagger in or something, but you can come in with a lot of confidence if you've got options. But if you've got it all dialed in, it's just one thing, and if I don't get this one thing, the whole thing's over, and you add this drama, then you tighten up.
Yeah, you can feel that energy in there
and
too.
It changes the conversation. Your vocal cords change even.
Yeah. Yeah, and there can be things, even if it's not financial, you could get, well, is there a possibility that my car could be paid, or insurance? I think there's always different possibilities of things you can ask for, even that,
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how the business is structured and what's going on. There's a lot of different things you can do, and to help people and do different things. And sometimes we've had situations where someone was just in a financial situation, they got in trouble, and they come in, we sit down, we go over their budget, and we go, okay, number one, we're going to get you in a situation so you're never here again with your budget, how you're handling your money. But then number two, your house is 4 payments behind, so we're going to catch the house up. And so that's just like a one-time thing. That's not a permanent raise, because the raise wasn't the problem. Their mismanagement at home was the problem.
I see what you're saying.
We help them fix the mismanagement, and then we catch them up. Now they're at even. Now they can run.
Yeah. Would you buy it? Do you still think it's good to buy a house? I'm a homeowner, right? Like for the first time, like last year or 2 years ago. And sometimes I'm like, is this the best thing to do? Like, it's tougher to have like freedom to just go where you want. You can't just go. And then sometimes it feels like there's so many expenses with a home. Sometimes it feels like, and I'm not saying it's true, but it feels like I'm not really building up any equity or saving money. What do you think about it, Dave?
Well, again, over the scope of time, you're making money, without a doubt. I mean,
by owning a home?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I'm old, so I've gotten to see this thing happen. I got my real estate license 3 weeks after I turned 18 years old in 1978. And the first house I sold was to a buddy of mine from high school, which means he wasn't smart because he let me sell him a house, and I'm stupid. And but
You're like,
anyway.
now I'm going to live in one of the rooms, buddy. I just want you
Yeah.
to know straight up.
How's this going? But yeah. Anyway, I sold him that house for $42,500, and it's on East Ridge over in Antioch. And that house today would be probably $800,000.
Wow.
So, you know, and if you bought a house 4 years ago, you've gotten in Nashville. I mean, you made serious money on it in 4 years in terms of value increase. But yeah, the nickel dime expenses, the messing with the repairs. I mean, crap, the more stuff you own, the more repairmen you have to know. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's what it is, whether it's got a motor in it or it's cars or houses or boats or all this stuff. Something's always freaking breaking. There's always something screwed up. And it does get the feeling of just the hassle and the aggravation. There's no simplicity to it at all. Your life gets more complicated. So be careful what you wish for. You know?
Yeah.
But home ownership in general, absolutely. We did the largest study of millionaires ever done in North
saw
America. And the typical millionaire that we found, 89% of them were first generation, meaning they did not inherit their money. It's not how they became millionaires. So 9 out of 10. That's good news for everybody. We all got a shot.
Right.
And then but the two things that got them there was simply putting money in their 401k and buying a house and paying it off. And so I'd meet a guy, you know, he's 42 and he owes, you know, he had a house of $600,000 or $700,000 and he had like $600,000 or $800,000 in his 401k and he's 42 years old. So he's worth over $1 million and he paid off his house. So home ownership is a key part of the first, you know, $1 to $10 million of net worth that somebody builds. And so, yeah, I'm a huge believer in home ownership. Don't do it stupid because buying a house you can't afford makes you broker. That's why they call them brokers. But, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, this is your study right here. How did you come upon these millionaires?
You know, we did a detailed study and sent out not just from us, but we just went to the population and found them. We had a research firm in New York City looking over our shoulder to make sure our research methodology was tight because we knew we'd get a ton of pushback from, you know, people who think that America's dead and there's no chance for anybody to win. You can't get up off the bottom. Little man can't get ahead, that whole thing. And so
You're saying that's not true.
The problem is little man gets ahead every day in America. We see it right here. And I've met them for 30, 40 years, you know, doing this. I run into them, and some of them did it because they did our stuff, but some of them just said, you know, I'm going to live on less than I make. And, you know, it was an interesting result.
So these are the top 5 careers of the millionaires that you guys looked at?
Yep.
Engineer,
Well, what we
accountant.
found was what occurred most often.
Okay.
Engineer was number one. The most often occurring among the people we surveyed that were millionaires was engineer. Number 2 was accountant. Number 3 was teacher, which is surprising. Number 3, management business. Number 5 is attorney. Medical doctor didn't even make top 5. And we always think of doctors and lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
But they're actually number 6, but they're notoriously bad with money. They make a lot of money, but they're like music stars or something. They're notoriously bad with money. And so that was interesting. We couldn't figure out at first what these things had in common because they don't seem to have anything in common. What we finally figured out is all 5 of these are process people. You follow a process, a set of rules, and you learn the rules and you follow the rules. You know, if you're an engineer, there's only one way to build that building and it doesn't fall, right? If you're an accountant, it's not art. You don't get to make up how you do accounting. There's one way to do it. Teachers have a lesson plan they have to follow. Business has always a set of best practices. Attorneys, you know, there's the law,
right?
And you can only conduct yourself in court a certain way, or the judge will smack you backwards, right? And so all of these are process people. So they discovered, because of the way the brain worked that led them into these careers, they discovered the process of living on less than they make, living on a budget, starting to invest, being generous, paying off their house, that kind of stuff, and they followed that process, and that's what got them there. It was not that. The interesting thing is 1/3 of them, 33%, made less than $100,000 a year.
Wow.
They were not making bank. They were not earning their way into it, really.
Yeah, because you would think teachers, you always hear we got to pay these teachers more, you know.
And we do. I mean, that wouldn't be bad at all. But there's the way the teachers' brains work, they do process, and that's the secret sauce.
And all of those, I guess you have to have an education for.
Well, that's true.
We have to go to college. Do you have to go to college to be a teacher? I don't know if
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to. You do?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, teachers, I didn't. Some of mine didn't go. Some of mine.
Some of yours didn't go to class.
Well,
Some of mine didn't either.
Some of mine would be in classes with me. I was like, what? It's like Ric Flair came on here one time and he said he was in a rehab facility for drugs and alcohol. And he looks over one day at lunch and one of the doctors is also in the facility.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's definitely, you're at a Hooters, bro. I'm like, you're just at a Hooters. Yeah, that's what the people say a lot of times is it does feel like that now. There's a lot of energy in there. It feels like the American dream isn't possible, that it doesn't exist. Where do you think a lot of that energy comes from? That is it feels like that's the consensus these days. Would you agree with that? It feels like that?
There's a lot of loud people that have that. I don't know that it's necessarily a consensus among Americans.
Because consensus means that most people agree with it?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not sure of that, but there's enough people that are making noise in that regard. But there kind of always has been. I mean, if you go back to the 70s with the hippie movement, it was the same kind of thing.
Right.
And so there's always been my group, the baby boomers. And so there's always been somebody in the group that felt like the system was rigged. Man, we got to get the system,
Yeah.
We can't beat the system. The little man can't get ahead, man,
Yeah.
And so the neighborhood I grew up in, people say that, and they never said it with like enthusiasm. It's like the little man can't get ahead.
Yeah.
Like Eeyore's their spirit animal.
Oh, yeah.
And
Where's my tail?
Yeah, it's just that's it, and I'm stuck, and life's bad, and and no, you're not. Get up off your butt and go get a pressure washer. I mean, there's stuff to do, So, and most of these people, again, these millionaires, and $1 million is not. That's not $1 billion. That's
Right.
$1 million. There's a lot of difference. Millionaires don't have jets. Millionaires don't have 7 cars and 4 houses.
No.
They've just got a paid-for house and some money in their retirement. That's what it amounts to. And so people kind of have a different mindset there, and they think, okay, I can't be like this rock star. Well, you might not be. There's not as many billionaires as there are millionaires.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, can it be done? Yes, it can be done. And there's a lot of loud noises out there. I don't know where that comes from. I think it starts with, and one of the reasons I pushed back and did this study, and then we ended up doing a #1 best-selling book on it, Baby Steps to Millionaires, pushing back in the marketplaces against those voices is because it's not true that you can't get ahead.
Right.
And when you convince someone that it's true, you're stealing their hope. And you shouldn't steal people's hope, man. That's evil.
Yeah.
And so you ought to encourage people to go do stuff. Now, you should not encourage them to go on American Idol if they can't sing.
Yeah.
Okay, but you should so stop their nightmares, but also encourage their dreams. So this hopelessness that goes with that, I feel stuck. I'll never get a house. I'm a Gen Z, I'm a millennial. I can't get ahead in today's world. You boomers bought your house for 2 baskets of strawberries, and so now I'm stuck, and you don't understand, and housing is so expensive. Honey, it's always been expensive. I was doing an interview on NPR the other day, and the lady said, I was riding with the Uber driver, and the Uber driver said his daughter is a dancer and a barista, and she couldn't get a house. And I went, that's been true in every generation.
Yeah.
If you serve coffee and you're in Nashville and you're a dancer,
Yeah,
can't get
I
a
think
house. That's just going to be, those are not, career fields that you're going to make enough to be able to afford a house. That's not a new thing. That doesn't mean the system has failed.
Yeah, and who's buying Java off a stripper either, to be honest. I'm not saying
I didn't
they
say
don't-
what kind of dancer. I didn't have any idea there, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I didn't know. But yeah, like who? Also, I guess it would be nice though if a stripper just shows up and has a nice cup of coffee. Actually, that's probably not a bad deal. Don't they have that nude barista drive-through or something? Where's that at?
That is a thing. That's right. I saw
Yeah.
that. That's a while back. That's old news. Yeah.
It's old news, but it definitely still. I think some people pretend like it's new news every day when they roll up there. Like, let me see the headlines, huh?
I'm not sure exactly how we got there, but okay.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that's a unique business right there. That's kind of wild, That'll definitely.
But the back to your thing, the thing is, hope is a decision, and it's got to be based on, you've had the actual reality in your life of going from collecting cans to sitting here. I've had the reality in my life of going from mowing grass to millionaire in my 20s to losing it all. I'm so dumb I had to do it twice.
Damn.
So, I've got that reality. And so when someone says it can't be done, I went, wait a minute, hello. And I don't really, I'm fairly smart, but I'm not a rocket surgeon. I mean, I don't really know how to do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out as I go, right? And so I think anybody can do it.
No, it's good to hear. Yeah, I think people having a hope like that is important, and I think it's just really important to hear that if you take away somebody's hope, because I guess that's what a lot of these loud voices are doing, right? I never thought about that much. They're just trying to take away hope, because once they have your hope, they can kind of keep you there. I feel like
if they're running a game, and they're manipulating, that's one thing. And that's particularly evil. But the other one is just they really have lost hope, and so they're angry, and they don't want and they want to loudly proclaim that it's not possible, which makes them feel okay that they're not winning, that they haven't gone and done something yet. And because winning's hard, man, it's hard.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, man. Yeah, I was talking. They had Kid Rock was on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how, if you want to have success, you're going to have to probably work 60 hours a week, 60 to 80 hours a week, he was saying. And
for a period of time, not your whole life. But,
right.
I mean, we started this thing, man, I was 16 hours. My wife had, and she's like, I was a single mom for 2 years, you were gone. I was on the road doing book tours. I was out speaking everywhere. I was going crazy, going to cities, trying to get radio stations to carry the show. Back when talk radio was the thing, and that's how we all got started, was in talk radio.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever meet Paul Harvey?
No, I didn't. I
That would have been so cool. I know y'all's timelines is
iconic.
Is off.
Yeah. I knew all the guys that are current, Rush and Sean Hannity, and all those guys are all contemporaries, and they're all friends and people that have been around the business like that. But and a lot of the new guys that are doing really good work too. But anyway, that we're just out there hustling, man, and you got to leave the cave, kill it, drag it home. And my wife grew up on a farm, so she's like, yeah, hard work's how you do this, so get after it. Now, you can't maintain that. That was 2 years. It wasn't 20. 20, I would have lost my family.
Yeah.
You can't maintain relationships. My kids would have been messed up. And so by the time my kids got on up, I didn't miss a prom. I didn't miss a hockey game. I didn't miss a whatever. The big games, little stuff I'd be gone during the week, but we started putting these dates on the calendar, and we would book our events around them. You couldn't book on top of that, and I still do that.
Yeah. When people talk about like, you hear a lot of discussion these days about how inflation is growing so fast, I guess, that it's not, that the minimum wage isn't keeping up with it. It feels like detrimental. Like it feels sometimes impossible. If you look at the minimum wage, you're like, how is this going to, it would feel impossible almost, I feel like, if you were trying to take care of a family or something on that,
Well, truthfully, minimum wage has never, I don't think, since even it was formed in the 70s, I don't think any time in history minimum wage has been enough to take care of a family. So you've always had to think beyond minimum wage if you wanted to excel, if you wanted to have, A, build some wealth, or B, just take care of a family, those kinds of things. So minimum wage is not designed for the entry-level jobs. That's not designed. What's more disturbing than minimum wage is that wages in general, average household incomes, have not kept up with inflation. And so
that's alarming.
That's more alarming, because that's the whole population. It's not just this segment that enters entry-level stuff at minimum wage. Because, if we go all the way back to minimum wage, I'm cutting grass for $3 a yard in 1972. Okay, 1,000. There were dinosaurs in the yard. We had to get them out of the yard.
Yeah.
But 1972, $3 a yard. But minimum wage was $1.65. My buddy's working at Burger King flopping Whoppers, and he's making $1.65. If I can cut that $3 yard in an hour, I'm making double minimum wage at 12 years old.
Right.
And that's how my little math brain was working. So running that mower. I'm going. And so,
You can even cut somebody's yard and just go to the door and be like, hey, just cut your yard.
No, I mean, that was my job. They were one of my clients. I had to go cut their grass.
But
I
some
mean,
people, I bet if you rolled up to my door and knocked on my door and said, hey, man, I just cut your yard, will you give me $10 for it or whatever?
except for that other guy you hired to do it that's coming next week. But there's a problem with him. But I mean, that you've always had the opportunity to beat minimum wage.
I see.
So you don't want to sit and say, okay, minimum wage is my gauge of whether I can go win, because I can go do something that beats minimum wage.
Right. So that's kind of sometimes that's kind of a political football that gets kicked around a lot, I guess, then,
It is, and it enters into this discussion falsely. It's a false narrative, where I think the real narrative that is a little bit scary is that wages have not kept up with inflation. And because we've had this unusual surge in inflation, and it's blamed on Biden politically, but some of it's his fault, his policy issues, but most of it is just the lingering results of the pandemic. And so the shortages of things always drive prices up on anything. Anything there's a shortage of, prices go up.
Okay.
And there was a shortage of freaking everything.
Yeah.
Remember supply chain and all that stuff people were talking about. And so everything shot up. Real estate shot up because people sat around in their houses during the pandemic. And then, when the sun came out and the curve was flattened and all whatever, and we're all back out, well, these people all wanted new houses. I mean, they came out of their house like a Baptist after a casserole. They were going for it, man. I mean, they were getting it, So, and house prices, 20, 21, wow. That was an artificial thing, though, that was created by the market being dormant and people being trapped, and then this idea of looking around at their house going, my house sucks, I need a new house. Boom, they hit the market hard, and it's still not recovered from that. It's still got the ripple of that. And some of the other things are that way too. But there's some things, again, they're policy issues, but most of it is just the smoothing out of that. And Trump nor Biden should get the credit nor the blame. It was more how the marketplace was functioning.
So you think that inflation will come down? Is that the right term to talk about inflation?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's permanent. Again, to the extent that the politicians leave their hands off of stuff, but both parties. But as the marketplace will smooth out, again, demand, prices go up, number of people want to pay that, no. So now demand goes down,
right,
which brings prices down. So the thing smooths out eventually. You find this equilibrium, this balance, and the problem is the shortage drove the prices up, and the shortage remained. And then people's appetite, they just kept coming, man, like freaking piranha. And that the marketplace surges is what drove the pricing as much as anything. Now, that's not true in oil and gas at the pump. That's a whole different subject. That's not true on a few other things. But housing, for sure, bread, grocery store cart, yeah, all that for sure.
You always hear about like the national debt, right? Mm-hmm. People talk about that all the time. And it just keeps going up, apparently. Is that a real thing that affects? It almost seems so fictional now that it's like, is it a real thing that could cause something to happen in our lives? Or is it, what is it? You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's just like, it's gazillions. They're making up amounts of money now.
Yeah, it's a whole
Some kid told me yesterday it was 65 zillion jerjillions. And I'm like, that's how much it is? I mean, right now it's 34. It's a number that I don't even know. How can you teach kids numbers in school, but you can't even teach them a number that would let them explain the national debt?
Yeah. I went through a period of time in my 20s when I was first starting to do this stuff, late 20s, and that I was worried that the hockey stick of this thing, the growth of the debt was going to cripple the economy and even cause a complete collapse. So I've observed people in my world write books on the end of the world. Here's the economic end of the world coming. The economic end of the world. Here's the and they keep being wrong. Yeah. So I don't want to write that book. So is it concerning? Yeah, it's concerning because anytime a group of people, us, keep spending more than we make, and we keep electing people that don't have any ability to curb their appetite for our money. Man, that philosophically, spiritually is scary. Mathematically is scary. Is it going to cause a crash? Apparently not.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this I've been watching this thinking when, but it's not. And obviously what the national debt is, what it does do factually is it robs money from the economy that could be producing something. And so, because what happens is the government issues a bond. That's how they finance the debts, treasury bonds, T-bills and T-bonds. And so they issue that bond, and then an investor goes and buys that government bond because they're going to pay him interest on it. If that investor had done something else in the marketplace with that money to produce something rather than sit on this bunch of fat in D.C., it would have ginned up the economy.
I see.
So it's stealing money from the economy in that sense, and it's becoming the interest only on it is becoming a larger and larger portion of the quote budget unquote, as if they've got a budget. But
Yeah, I put money into kind of T-bills. I'm kind of a safe.
It's you. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I didn't know it was. It was you. Okay.
Because there's a lot of me. I don't trust the stock market that much. I feel like it's so manipulated these days. I feel like there's like darker forces that are like you can use the media to control it and like can like create articles to affect how the market goes. So that's kind of like. So I prefer something like a T-bill or something like that. That's just like a safe, know what it's going to be pretty much.
Well, there's always been falsehood and manipulation in the market. There's always been to a degree.
Do you think it's still a safe place for people to invest?
I do. I've got millions and millions of dollars in mutual funds. So the way to offset that is, number one, if you don't, I believe it's there. I believe it's a very small percentage, and I don't know where it is exactly. I can't point and say that guy, that one, that girl, that thing right there. I don't know exactly where it is. But, I mean, is there people that fluff the thing? Absolutely, they fluff it. Absolutely. Is there people that, that right before the news article goes out, they sell their stuff, insider trading? It happens all the time. Sometimes they get caught and go to jail. It's illegal. But does it happen? Oh, it's common practice. Is it so widespread that it makes the investment improper or imprudent? No, I don't believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be investing. So I invest. So if I'm in a mutual fund, I'm in 90 to 200 different stocks. And it's stuff that you drive by every day. It's McDonald's or Home Depot or Dell Computer or Apple or Exxon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's in that
Rooms to go or whatever.
All that. And so in those 90 to 200, is there some percentage of that problem going on? Yeah, there is. Some percentage, but not enough that it, in general, those 90 to 200 companies, I'm spread out wide enough, diversified. I'm spread out enough that I'm catching all the good, and it's more than offsetting the falsehood that's out there, and it's more than offsetting that. So as Home Depot makes more money, then I'm participating. As whoever, Apple, makes more money, then I'm participating because I'm one of the owners of the company, tiny little bit, when I own, in that 90 to 200 stocks. So that's how I don't buy single stocks, mainly because they're higher risk and much more volatile, and you're much more prey to what if that was the company that was screwing around?
Yeah.
Then boom, you bet the whole dadgum farm on that one horse race, and that guy fell out. No, we're not doing that. So I don't like that much risk. So I like the diversification of mutual funds. That's where all my retirement is. It's what we recommend, what we teach. So I only do two kinds of investing. I buy real estate that I pay cash for, and I buy mutual funds.
Call them what you want, baby. Them knee knockers, them little baby jugglers, them thigh slappers, them nuggets, whatever. Our friends at Manscaped call them the boys. Not every man has children, but every man is responsible for their two boys below the waist. When your little guys have more hair than they need, trust Manscaped for all your grooming dreams. And the boys need love too. So join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use code Theo for 20% off plus free shipping. That's right, Manscaped. They help mow it down, baby, with the Lawnmower 3.0, the 4.0 Pro, and the 5.0 Ultra. Yep, 3-ball trimmers. Dun, 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 dun. Isn't it awesome? Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Theo at manscaped.com. Take care of your body. Fine-tune the hair on your body and balls. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code Theo at manscaped.com. For the best your boys have ever looked, trust Manscaped. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp for when you don't know where to turn or the places you've been turning haven't been helpful. There's another option. You know, I was stuck in a moment one day where I just was dang caught up, and I said, I need some help, and I need it now. And I reached out to BetterHelp, and next thing you know, I'm on the line. I'm talking to a therapist, and suddenly I'm just it's just the idea to saying, hey, I'm going to try something. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. That's one thing I always encourage. Too many times I was with a therapist that I didn't really think it just wasn't the best connection, and I stayed with them just because I didn't want to. I was too afraid to try someone else or didn't know if I could. Don't think about it. Just try. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THEO today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Theo.
If someone had some money they're thinking about putting it into the market, or they're thinking about buying like maybe a small apartment building or something like that, do you feel like that's a good choice for people?
Yeah, I don't get in partnerships on them like we discussed earlier. I just buy them. But yeah, real estate makes more. If it's good income producing real estate, you'll make more on it than you will in mutual funds. Mutual funds average 10, 12%. Real estate, you ought to make 17 to 20, including the tax benefits, the appreciation is going up in value, and the cash flow. Those three things do it. The problem with real estate is it's a pain in the butt because you got to deal with it. The roof leaks. Whether it's commercial office building, whether it's a house, doesn't matter. And I've got a lot of both. But there's a tenant that doesn't pay or does pay, or it's empty and I can't get a tenant. There's
it's a lot
hassle.
of stress.
There's a hassle factor to dealing with it. Even if you hired management. I mean, my son-in-law runs all the Ramsey real estate stuff, and I grew up in real estate, so I love working with him on it. But he handles the day-to-day. I don't screw with all that today, but it's a pain. So this idea that I hear this stuff on social media stuff, it's real estate's passive income. Bull crap. Nothing passive about it, dude. Oh. Your butt's active. I mean, you're right in the middle of it, or you're getting screwed, one of the two.
Yeah, you get in. I got into some real estate, and it was so much extra work that I didn't realize, complaints, somebody's Airbnb in the building, somebody's, started a fire or something, because they didn't want to use the heat in their unit or whatever. It's like, you can't just do a fire. Like, you gotta.
You need a fireplace.
Yeah. Yeah. Just crazy. People just doing fires. Yeah, just stuff like that. I think a lot of alarming stuff. But yeah, there's no easy way to it.
Well, I mean, the T-bill, what you're talking about, that's, you buy it and you forget it. They send you a check. It's not as big a check, but there's no hassle.
Yeah.
Mutual funds, a little more risk because you're in there with all these companies. There could be something going on. Even if you're in 90 to 200 and limited the risk by spreading it out, you still got more risk than you would in the T-bill, but you're going to make a little more. Yeah. You want a little more hassle? Go in real estate. You're going to make a little more. So you don't want to be... I try to just say it's a risk-return ratio. If I'm going to take some risk and have some hassle, I want some extra money for that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the stress it causes. It's like, do I want to be? Because I'll notice, like some stocks is too much stress for me because I'll check them too much and I don't like it. And then it's like I've spent 30 minutes of my day dang checking stocks, and that's money time I could have just had him doing my work.
I buy a mutual fund, set it and forget it. I don't even know what the market has done this year.
Wow.
And I do this for a living.
Wow.
I don't keep up with it. I don't, because I'm not betting on this week. I'm saying, okay, look at what the stock market has done since 1980, since 1990, since 2012. Look at what I would have made if I'd have put $10,000, what it would have made. And that's how I'm playing it, is the long haul, the long play.
Wow. God.
Well, there it is. 1992, $1,000 would have turned into $5,000.
Was there ever a stock that you bought, Dave, where you were like, man, I wish I would have held on to that? That you just remember, like even when you were younger, was there one?
No, I never bought single stocks ever. The only dumb thing I did is I bought gold one time. This buddy of mine, again, these buddies in my 20s, he was making money, and he had this gold guy that we could buy options on gold, which we don't even buy in the gold, just buying the right to buy the gold. And he said he put in $5,000, and if it goes up, the option goes from $5K to $50K, well, 10x my money. And 14 times in a row, this guy had hit. Wow. And you put it in, and I'm like, he had predicted, and he said, okay, we need to go in right now and put 5,000. I dropped $5,000 in there. 15th time he didn't hit. It's all or nothing. So I lost the whole 5,000. And no sign of 50, right? None.
Yeah.
So I'm done.
You think it was a pyramid scheme or not?
No, it's an option. That's how options work. It's just it's an uber high risk situation. It's super crazy. It was just gambling. I mean, it's just gambling.
You ever been in a pyramid scheme?
No.
I've been in a couple.
Are you talking about multi-level or pyramid?
I mean, I don't know what it was. Whatever level it was, I lost on it. I know that.
You didn't get off the ride fast enough.
Oh, yeah. No, we had, one, I was a child. I got involved. I'd saved up probably most of the money I had. And I got into this thing, and it was a scam, and that was horrible. God, that killed me. And then another time they had a dude when somebody was selling like glitter mining or something in our area. And they sold a bunch of shares of that shit and screwed everybody.
I remember in the 80s, everybody decided that emus were going to be the new meat.
What?
And
Really?
so there,
Why?
all these rednecks
Pull
are
one
buying.
up. This is unbelievable.
All these rednecks are making emu farms, and so it's like ostrich meat, right? And so they were.
Oh, come on, brother.
So it was a big deal, and a lot of people decided they were going to sell everything and open an emu farm.
Really?
And because for the meat, it's like ostrich meat. It's like I don't know. It's a big bird meat, big white meat. So.
Just bring up a picture of an emu, brother. I can't find a dang emu. You can't find one now, I guess. Here you go.
You got the
Images
commercial
right
there he is.
I'll scroll down a little bit. Let me see what we got.
So he's got a little meat on him.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious though. These rednecks around Tennessee, they were having emu farms.
Dang, have you ever had any of it?
No, I managed to stay out of that scam. That was one of those fad things that didn't work. So
yeah, that's a damn
it's like
tall
buying
turkey,
like the Beanie Babies. Everybody's collecting Beanie Babies.
Dude, I remember Beanie Babies.
They were going to get rich on Beanie Babies.
Oh
right?
yeah, and now they have 2 garbage bag
women fighting.
Yeah.
Like cage match fighting in the airport gift shop to get the Beanie Baby.
Remember the
right?
Princess Diana Beanie Baby?
There it is.
Came out?
Yeah, it's supposed to go for like $10,000. Never happened. Never once. Nope. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, my dog plays with them now.
Yeah,
but we had the whole freaking collection. Not because it was an investment, but because my wife was freaking obsessed, and I was traveling. And every airport she sends me in there. So yeah, see $49,000 on eBay for the Princess. Never sold though.
No,
never
that's
sold.
the thing.
Never sold. Didn't
Never
happen.
sold. Yeah, they had my buddy won his family's football pool. It was like their NCAA, their college football pool they did every year. He won. It was like $600, dude. He was so excited. He could have changed his life. And instead, his mom convinced him to buy a Christmas village of like rare Christmas village houses.
Oh yeah, they're back.
Bro,
They're back. They're coming. Right, they're happening right now.
My buddy to this day is
he's big into Christmas houses.
No
Rent isn't much. The tenants don't make much noise.
and the street lights are always on.
Electric bill's low.
Oh, yeah, so yeah. running into a lot of issues, but God, that just broke him, man. He never recovered from that. Dude, I met a dude yesterday in Tennessee. He said he took out an $800 life insurance policy on his wife. I'm like,
$800. That's pretty insulting.
well, yeah, that's what I felt like. I'm like, dude, do not tell her that. I was like, she's going to be pissed off.
Yeah, this is like...
And he's like, well, my truck payment's $7.99 a month, so
that solves it.
yeah. Speaking of like kind of traps, I guess. Like, what are like? So a lot of things you've spoken out against crypto. I know I'm not a crypto fan. I lost $2,000 in crypto, just like every one of my friends did when it first came out, right? Like NFTs, things like that kind of pop up. That really, they're almost. To me, some of them seem like the modern day pyramid scheme in a way.
The emu farm.
Yeah. It's a lot of emu farms, baby. Why are more people falling susceptible to these types of things, do you think?
We always have. That's human nature. We're wired by God to look for the shortest path, to look for optimum, to look for the best, the quickest, the easiest. And there's nothing wrong with that. That makes our lives better because we create inventions and things that make our lives better. That's that very wiring created the automobile or created the iPhone or created things that make our lives better. And so that's a good wiring. But where it gets off track is where we think we can short circuit a proven process, and it causes you to jump from investor to speculator. An investor is always the crockpot. They're always the long play. They're always saying, okay, I'm going to invest in mutual funds. I don't care what stock market did this year. I'm thinking, what's it going to be in 20 years? What's it going to be in 15 years? And how am I going to be doing? And so I'm thinking long term. The speculator needs a quick flip. And so Bitcoin has never really been about investing. It's a speculation. It's a short-term play. No one bought that and said, in 20 years, this is going to look brilliant.
Yeah.
No one did. They all thought quick money. Easy money. No one flips houses with nothing down that they saw on TikTok. Quick flip. When a builder even builds a home that they're not custom building, they call it a spec house. It means speculation. They're speculating that they're going to sell that house. It's a short-term play. They're not building that house in that subdivision hoping to sit on it 10 years. They're building it hoping to sit on 10 days.
Right.
And so it's speculation. So where you get confused, where you mess up is where you can fall into scams and get rich quick and violate basic investing principles is when you move from investing, which is long-term mentality, to speculation, which is quick hit. I want quick money, quick money, easy money. And that's that wiring, that's positive wiring gone astray, become toxic. And so, in a sense, that's what happened to me when I went broke in real estate because I was buying houses. I was doing flip this house before Chip and Joanna were born, and so that's what we were getting it. And I've owned like 2,000 houses in my life, so I was churning them, man. But I was doing it on 90-day notes, short-term notes, because I was not buying them as a long-term play. I was buying them, fix them, and flip them. And the bank got sold to another bank. They look up and they can call my notes in 90 days. So they called $1.2 million in 90 days, and it crashed me. And so, because I was a speculator, I wasn't an investor. Now, I would have told you I was a real estate investor.
Right.
But the actual definition of the term investor means longer term horizon, long window. And so if it's, thank God it's Friday, oh God it's Monday. If I got to move it this calendar year or in the next 2 calendar years to make money on it, then, you're playing the roulette wheel. You're playing Texas Hold'em. That's speculation. You're gambling then. And that's a different thing. It's okay if you want to do some of that, but quit calling it investing because then it causes you to put too dadgum much money in it because you lose your butt then. And that's where you get scammed is you're looking for something for nothing quick, a quick turn, double my money fast because I don't think I can get there long term. So I'm so desperate and so scared, so fearful, so greedy that I got to get it right now. And that's what I was doing. And it worked. I got $1 million worth of stuff, but I didn't keep it because I built a house of cards.
Obviously, when you work, sometimes it's weird. Like people will ask me, like, what hobbies do I have and stuff? But the weird thing is, like, a lot of my hobbies became my jobs. Is that kind of what happened for you, or do you still like have things that you like to do outside of?
As I got further down in the business in the last several decades, I actually do have things I do outside of here But in the first few decades, it was just, you're right. I get great joy out of the stuff we do.
Yeah.
We help people. A lot of people are scared. They're broken. They're about to lose their house. They've been through bankruptcy. Their marriage is on the rocks, whatever. We're able to help them. And that's it's wonderful. I have a lot of fun doing the show still. Again, once you've been on stage with an audience, our gig's a different gig, but it's still, it's fun to be with people.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be people that want to be there, and it's addicting in that regard. So I enjoy that whole thing. I enjoy that scene. I enjoy running the business. But I also have picked up a few things away from here so that distractions, and I don't know if they're hobbies, I guess, but I end up collecting stuff or whatever, doing that kind of stuff. And but there's nothing wrong with, especially in the first couple decades, with almost all your energy doing that other than family stuff.
Yeah. What are some, obviously you've learned a lot of financial lessons over the years. What were some personal lessons that you had to learn along the way too that kind of helped you? Was there some things that have kind of stood out to you, you feel like?
I didn't know how to lead. Like you said earlier, we're talking about hiring an employee.
Yeah.
I was so dumb that I thought if you hired people that they would work.
Yeah, they knew what to do.
Well, no, that they would just actually work. I thought they would just show up. I thought they'd be on time. I didn't think they'd steal. I was so dumb that I thought all that. And so I just, if you could fog up a mirror, let's go do this together, man. Come on, get in here. I'll put you on payroll. Let's go. And then I got all this crazy and all this drama and all this other stuff. I was horrible. And I was pretty much a boss. Bosses push. Leaders pull. And man, when I was 32 years old, I didn't get that. And we hired our first person when I was 32. And so, over the years, I've had to learn to not be behind. Because, if you're a boss, you're just at the back of the cattle and cracking the whip. And it's like you're moving at the speed of the slowest cow, the slowest common denominator in the room. It's like you get on. If you're a leader, you're standing at the train going, we're leaving. Anybody want to get on? Because this thing's going.
Right.
You better keep up because we're going hard and you better get it. And so I had to get around front of that and say, all right, I'm going to lead. And then I went to this Christian conference with a guy named John Maxwell, who's become a great friend. He's one of the top leadership speakers in the world.
Is he really?
And he said, you should be a servant leader. And I went, say what? I'm the one writing the check. I ain't the servant. I'm confused here. And I thought he meant subservient. And what he meant was you got to love your people and you got to care what's best for them. And sometimes that means telling them hard truth that they don't want to hear. Sometimes it means they can't work anymore because they can't behave, that kind of stuff. And so I realized I had been serving my kids by making them brush their teeth against their will. So they have some teeth later. That's serving them. So it's a servant leader, right? And so, I'm good with servant leadership. And so I had to learn that. I sucked. I was a horrible boss because I was going so hard. I thought everybody else was going hard, and then I was pissed off because they weren't keeping up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you hired a bunch of donkeys and expect to win the dadgum Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
And no donkey ever won, man. So we had to look for thoroughbreds and have a donkeyectomy, and it was a problem, man. And so, I sucked, and I'm a world-class leader today. It's one of the things I'm best at. I love our people. I love our team. The way this place functions and operates, it's one of the best places in Nashville to work, probably one of the best places in the world to work. And it's not perfect. We screw up, but we treat people right. We care about them, and we expect high things out of them. We expect them to get it, and they do. We got a great team.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's something that I did have slowly had to. Yeah, that's been a tough journey for me. Even just having a few employees, and it's like you're suddenly a boss. You didn't even want to be a boss. Some of that too. I think just a realization, I'm the boss, I guess. And they're like, well, yeah, you are. Yeah. And I'm like, well, all right,
I was just trying to get crap done. Who knew? And I needed somebody to do that thing, and you brought you in to do that thing, and then you brought all your crap with you when you did that. Now I got to deal with your crap. So, and that's been a 30-year journey, and so
that's huge. Boss versus leader. It's such a good way to look at it. And would you go to conference and stuff to learn about that stuff too? Because I'm sure you had to evolve in that space.
I did. I read like a maniac, and so I'm going to read, leadership books, business books. I still read like crazy. I love to get new information. In this digital age, an old guy like me, I'm sitting in these meetings with these studs, and I don't even know what they're saying, and they work for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did you just say? So I have to keep up. I mean, I gotta work hard. I gotta pedal hard just to stay on the bike. And so, I still do that stuff, and I still, hang out. And the good news is some of the guys that are the best writers and thinkers in the world have become friends over the years now. And so they're my running buddies. So we hang out, and I get to talk offline with them, and they still teaching me stuff. It's cool.
What about like fiction? You read anything like that ever?
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah?
All the Jack Carr stuff. You read Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read all that stuff, and Brad Thor's a friend. I read all of his stuff, all those spy novels and stuff. Fiction makes airplanes fly fast.
Yeah, it does, huh? Yeah, Jack Carr, that's wild, dude. I was like a big John Grisham fan when I was growing up.
Yeah, I read all of his, every one of his. Yeah.
And
Daniel Silva's the guy. He writes like the character of the prognostic is an Israeli Mossad spy, versus Jack Carr's is a former SEAL team, and Brad Thor's is all the same stuff. They're all former Delta, former SEAL, or whatever, that kind of stuff. So it's in the same genre, and I've read all of his stuff too. But again, I do read fiction. Yes.
something you like, yeah. When people look at like, there's an election this year, it's an election year. When people look at the election, do you feel like who they vote for could have an effect on their future finances?
Sure. Not as much as the candidates would like you to believe.
Right.
It turns out that I've done stupid stuff under every single White House, and I have done smart stuff under every single White House, and I've increased the size of our business under every single White House. None of them have been dumb enough to destroy my life, and none of them have ever sent me any money.
Yeah.
So most of them don't even send me my money back. So what happens at your house is way more important than what happens at the White House. But yeah, policy does matter. It changes whether we've got $3 gas or $5 gas. And that matters, because if you're running a heat and air company and you got 30 trucks out there and you're trying to feed your family and trying to feed that guy who's on that truck's family, and the gas price doubles on that, run that truck down the road to fix somebody's heat and air, it changes the whole P&L on that company. And then that guy wants a raise, and it ain't there because some doober at the White House turned the faucet on or off on the oil. And that stuff matters. That shows up. And so, policy does matter in that regard because it affects things. And policy during stressful times matters because whether people feel. Ronald Reagan didn't do anything special, but he made people feel like it was going to be prosperous. Whether you agree with him or not, he was a motivator. He was aspirational, and so
it's a good point, huh?
He didn't really have any magic wands that he waved at the Reaganomics or and Art Laffer that wrote the Reaganomics stuff lives here in town. He's a friend of mine. He was on Reagan's cabinet at the time. He's in his 80s. Wonderful man, brilliant man. But Art Laffer did not turn America around, Ronald Reagan. But Ronald Reagan made people believe again. And when you can believe, instead of believe everything's bad, it's horrible, it's divisive, we're not going to do anything, people sit at home and they don't do things, and then the economy starts to, that stuff does have an effect. But you can win in any situation. So vote for who you want to vote for. But don't vote for them because they're going to fix your life, because they're not.
No, that's a great statement. Yeah. In the end, it really comes down to you, doesn't it? You still believe that? It really seems like that.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
John Stossel wanted to interview me many years ago, back when he did 2020 and all that stuff, and he was a scary dude because you know if he's going to come at your throat or whether he's going to be a friend in an interview. And we went down there and we were sitting off stage, or on stage, I guess, doing the interview, and he said, I've read all your stuff, and he goes, I don't think you're as much of a conservative as you think you are. He said, I think you're a social conservative and an economic libertarian. I went, okay, I'll go with that. And so, yeah, the economic libertarian would say, if it's to be, it's up to me. Get up, go mow some grass, get you a pressure washer, get your butt in gear. And, the government's just something you got to overcome. They're in the way. They're not going to lift me. If I'm waiting on the government to lift me, all I can think about is the DMV line.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So I'm that guy. But it comes out of my Scotch-Irish redneck history. I mean, the Scotch-Irish have always been fighting everything. They've always been independent.
Yeah.
Think of Braveheart, as independent.
High blood pressure too.
Yeah, that always looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Always looking to stir something up. If there's no drama, just make some.
Yeah.
And so I made a good living doing it though.
Yeah. Where'd you meet your wife at, Dave?
College.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, marketing class.
Nice. And you went to college in Tennessee or no?
I did, University of Tennessee.
You did?
We both graduated from UT, yeah.
Nice, dude. Is there a better place to see a football game than Neyland?
Wow. It's a religion. Yeah, it really is. It's wow.
It's so sweet over
Bizarre.
there.
When they're winning, especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of nice lately.
Yeah, it helps. The past 2 years has been
It's a big
definitely
deal,
a good
but
time
yeah.
to get on board.
Not good being with 110,000 people when you're losing because they are angry rednecks. But yeah, me, I'm one of them. I'm like, I'm pissed. But yeah,
Do you go to some games ever?
we had suite seats for years when our kids were down there, and so we'd go down almost every game. But the kids are grown and got grandkids, and we're traveling doing other stuff, so we gave those up. But so I'm not mad about it. It just kind of that phase went away.
Yeah.
Watch it on the TV now, but better experience anyway. But
Yeah.
So go
Where'd you
Vols.
meet your wife at school? Do you remember?
We're at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, in marketing class.
Oh, in
Yeah,
class,
yeah.
you saw her, huh?
Yeah, she was cheating off my paper,
Was she really?
but she was cute, so I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, let her look
That was
over.
a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. It's your paper. It's your paper, honey. Have you ever been approached by I know you've had different obviously books and like programs for people to achieve wealth and to save their money. Have you ever had a package or something that you've taken to like a Shark Tank or to like a something like that where they've tried to?
No, because we kind of bootstrapped every bit of this. It was just like we make a little money, we try something new with that money. We make a little more money, we try something new with that money. And again, we've lost a lot of money, done a lot of stupid stuff doing that, but we've also done some things right that have worked. And so, we're the second largest talk radio show in America, 680 stations, about 10 million listeners on talk radio alone. Hannity's number one. Rush was number one. Hannity was two. We were three. Rush passed away. Not a good way to get to be number two, but it happened. He's Elvis. He invented rock and roll. He invented talk radio. So
Yeah.
it was.
And both of them did pills too, I think, to be honest. But
I have no idea about
I've
it.
done them, but I'm just saying,
I have no idea. But yeah, anyway, we started in that whirl when it grew and grew and grew and grew. And I remember the day a guy walked in my office and said, "Hey, we need a podcast." And I'm like, "What the flip is a podcast?" And I said, "Why do I need one?" And he goes, "It's the thing." And man, it was a long time ago. So we were one of the first podcasts on Apple way back.
Wow.
And because a lot of people on talk radio didn't want to put it on podcasts because it competed with their radio stations.
Right.
with
So then
their
you're
customers.
competing with your own numbers, kind of.
Yeah, and you're messing up everything. And now, Spotify, Apple, we're number 1, 2, 3 on Apple, right in there hovering. Me and Rogan and some NPR murder mystery stuff or something, that kind of stuff. Always hanging out in the top 10 there. So we're bouncing around in there, and we've had 1.5 billion downloads now. Wow. And I'm like, what's a podcast? So yeah, you start, you start new stuff, and then YouTube. Good God, the numbers on YouTube are just cray.
Yeah.
And so gone up into the right hockey stick, and so now those two have now eclipsed the talk radio business, and so now I'm a podcaster apparently.
At least you evolved with it, though.
Well, yeah, because we're platform agnostic. Wherever the action is, that's where we're going to be. And we didn't abandon. We're still dancing with the girl that brought us. So
Yeah.
we're still with talk radio. Still got 680 stations. Still love talk radio. But we're on Sirius XM. Sirius XM came on. It was two companies, Sirius and XM. We went on both of them, and everybody's mad. You can't be on both and be on talk radio. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on everything. I'm on podcast, and then we put it on YouTube, and then Facebook Live. Crap, we'll try anything. TikTok. Good God help us. We're on TikTok.
We're all
and
are.
So,
Working
it's like
for the Chinese, they say.
that's it, man. Tic-tac. Here we go. So, but hey, and because you never know which one of these things is going to become the next MySpace and just disappear, and you don't know which one of these other things. So I don't want to bet this whole thing and all these 1,100 people are counting on me on one single platform. So we're always innovating, always changing and moving.
Yeah, it's because you kind of don't know you don't know what the next thing can be that's really going to go well. There was something you said a second ago where like you made some money and then you put it back into the company, right? Or you tried something new with it. That I think is a big, like one of the craziest things that ever happened to me was I was podcasting in my apartment and a guy came along and he said, "Hey man, I'm going to give you some money. You can get you a studio, you know?" And he bought some ads from me. He said, "I'm going to pay some ads for a pizza place." It was in my neighborhood. And he said, "I'm going to give you some money. You should use it to get a studio." And my first thought was, I want to keep that money. You know, I never had any money. I'm keeping this money. I'm not getting a studio. I'll just do it in my apartment till it fades out, and then I'll have the money I made from the ads. But he was right. He just saw that thing that I couldn't see of putting the money back into getting myself a studio, which then now I have a studio. It's a little bit of a different place when people come. It's more of a business. And now, you know, it was so hard for me to see that though, you know?
Well, and we get to see, I mean, those of us that are fanboys of your work, we get to see a whole nother side of you. There's stand-up and then these long-form interviews that you're doing. And I see it. Who knew that was going to happen? But, I mean, I've seen a bunch of these long-forms that you've done. And so it's a whole different thing. And it's where people start to recognize what those of us in the business of being on stage or in front of a microphone have known. We know, for those of you out there, you don't know this necessarily, but most of the top-flight comedians are very bright. You know, comedy's hard. It's one of the more hard art forms to do. Acting, you can be dumb as a rock and be an actor. Yeah. Because you just try to be somebody else. That's all you're doing. It's a process. Sorry, you actors that are friends of mine. But I mean, comedy is you're messing with people's lives. You're messing with every part of things that mean something to them, and you're twisting it at just the right way with the right hesitation, the right move of the sentence structure and everything. It's very difficult. We doing motivational speaking or teaching, I teach our guys, if our audiences, if we got 2,000, 3,000 people in an audience, if they don't laugh every 7 minutes, we're going to lose them. Yeah. And we're not comedians, but we have to study what you guys do. So getting to see you do this it's brilliant. It's a smart thing to do. It's the same thing. Brogan did the same thing. I mean, he moved from, comedy into those long forms. And what everybody loves about Joe is the fabulous interviews. Yeah. And I'm a fanboy of his. I watch a lot of his stuff. Oh, yeah.
He's so good at learning information. He's so good at retaining information.
He knows a lot about a lot of stuff.
Oh, if you stop, I had dinner with him the other night after the UFC fights, and yeah, you're just ready to learn, brother. You better, if you're going to sit down with Joe Rogan, you better be ready to learn something. It doesn't matter if it's over a bowl of soup, a microphone. Yeah, he just loves learning, sharing information. He really is kind of like a library, But what is the mentality that people, it's more about like the mentality of like investing back in yourself, because there's that there's that fear that I want to just save this,
Well, that, if you realize that no matter what you try, some of it's not going to work, give yourself permission to fail. And then you say, okay, we're going to put this money and we're going to take some home and enjoy it and be generous with it in the community and invest some of it. But we're also going to invest some of it in the best investment, which is, the freaking goose that's laying the golden eggs. Let's have lots of these geese. Let's figure out different things we can do, different ways we can move this business around. Do we move to podcasting? Do we move to YouTube? Do we build a studio? Do we build an event center? Do we to create an environment that is a whole different thing than when I rent a theater somewhere else, which we do both. And we'll always go to these other cities and always be on tour, always do these things. But the events on this campus feel way different to the customer when they come in here because we can control all the freaking variables. I mean, we're Nick Saban playing home game. Yeah. I mean, we know who cuts the grass. We know who dialed the microphone in. I got a 2 dB drop from the front of the stage to the back of that auditorium. Wow. 2,500 seats. It's tight. And it's dialed in, and you know how that sound crap is. Sounds even worse in our world because we're voice. Music, you can just turn it up if the sound's bad. Yeah, But man, you get in these auditoriums, you got bounce back, stinking hockey arena, stinking hitting the concrete wall coming back at you. You can hear yourself 3 times and can't even tell what your timing is on stuff. Yeah, that's the worst. You know what I'm talking about. So we've got all that dialed in. That's a reinvestment back into something we know is going to work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Yeah, I think that was the tough thing. It was tough for me to like realize that one of my greatest assets can be myself.
Yeah.
You know, and be like, well, what if I really want to invest in something, to invest in myself?
Yeah.
How does generosity play? Like, there's a lot of fear around generosity sometimes, you know, about like, I have to made this, I have to keep it all for me.
Yeah.
What has your journey been like with that in life, or what have you learned about it?
You're exactly right. There's fear around that. And fear is the motivator is if I give it away, I'm going to have less. Which mathematically, you know, if I take $1,000, I give away 100, I got 900. So yeah, I get less. But that's a short-term mentality. And what I finally figured out after studying this all these years and watching people who are generous, there's a real correlation between people that build wealth and people that are generous. Very few wealthy people are really super greedy and don't give. Most of them are very big givers. They're big tippers. They're not like tight. They're not like mean about money. They're very open-handed because they know they can get some more. So what happens is generosity is not an action. It's a character quality, like integrity. Integrity is not an action. There are actions that come out when you have integrity. There are actions that come out when you are generous. Generous people are the ones who hold the door open for you. Generous people help you pick up the groceries when the stupid bag, they fall out and they're rolling all over the parking lot in the grocery store and you're embarrassed. But the generous person runs over and joins the party and helps you pick up the canned goods and all that. That's the generous person. The generous person is other-centered instead of self-centered. And here's what's weird. Think about who you want to work with. Think about who you want to work for. Think about who you want on your team. Think about the vendor that you want to do business with, the next deal you want to do on an advertiser. You want to deal with a selfish person or a selfless, other-centered person, self-centered or other-centered. Well, generosity makes people highly attractive. We want to be around generous people, not because they're going to give us money, but just because of who they are. They're just open-handed. They're thinking about other people. And so there's this huge correlation between generosity and prosperity. You tend to prosper because people want you around. They want you in the deal because you're not there for what you can get. You're there for what you can give, and we're all going to win together. We don't have to kill each other to win, you know? And so that's how like Rush or Sean and I in the old days, or other people in the talk radio business. Laura Ingraham was doing a talk radio show in those days. She's on Fox Personality now. You know, we're all friends, even though we were competitors. We were head to head. If I knock Hannity off a station, I get that station. So we're head to head. But we also know I don't have to kill him to win. I mean, I don't have to completely. So I never talk bad about my competitors in that world because I want to be a generous person. I want to be and I'll help them. I've actually helped every one of those people do different things over the time. And so it's just interesting that, and then the giving of money is a natural result for someone who has the character quality of generosity. So, you know, and I watch people. Okay, here's the stupid thing. This guy, I was watching the other day, he pulls up in front of me at the restaurant, the valet parking right here in Nashville. We have valet parkers everywhere.
Yeah.
And
churches even have them.
Yeah. I mean, who's working valet? Okay.
The Lord is my valet, dude.
I'm telling you, man, that's well, there's that. Yeah, so but the guy that's working valet, he's out there in the sun, he's out there in the rain, he's putting up people's garbage. They're not nice. You know, this is who's working the valet. And this guy pulls up in a Mercedes, and I know the car. It's a great car. It's about $120,000, $130,000 car. And he hands the valet $5. I'm like, dude, that's just stupid. So I pull up in my truck. You know, it's a nice truck, but I pull in my truck. I hand the guy $20. I'm like, man, please take care of my baby. And you know where it was when I came out? It was sitting right there. You know? So who prospered here? Everybody won. Everybody won. But you didn't give Ferris Bueller's Day Off the keys to your Mercedes for $5. I mean, what kind of moron? I mean, seriously, that's just short-sighted. That lack of generosity is short-sighted, where it sounds like I'm some kind of big guy because I gave $20 or whatever to park my stupid truck. But I'm not. But there's a payoff there. My truck there's nothing wrong with my truck. It's sitting right there. I don't have to wait on it when I come out. The kid had a good night, at least partly because of me. So I think everybody came out on this transaction. Yeah. So that's how generosity works.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's been slow to learn for me. Not slow, but I think it's just been, I just came from such a fear mentality.
Yeah.
You know, we just didn't have any money. So it was like, I remember I'd keep my money I'd hide it.
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
would hide that money. Yeah. I would spend half my day hiding my dang money, boy.
I met this
digging
guy.
up dirt and hiding it.
Oh, I understand. I met this guy as a Orthodox Jewish rabbi, and we become good friends. Rabbi Daniel Lapin. He wrote.
He's hiding some.
He wrote a book. No, he wrote a book called "Thou Shalt Prosper," and he said the problem is when you have that fear is you think money is like cake. Like if I get a slice away, I got less cake. He said money's not like cake. Money's like candles. When you light it, you still got your candle. And you light another one, you still got your candle. You light another one, you still got your candle. That's how money works. Money will grow around you when you're doing the right stuff that you're supposed to be doing. I thought it was a beautiful picture.
What role has faith played in your life? You mentioned it a little bit. How's that? What's that been like for you?
It's central because as I
I
said,
know you said other-centered earlier, which I thought was a term you hear a lot of times.
yeah, I guess that's maybe a faith phrase. I don't know, but it's honestly, it's taught me how to be a better human being because I really wasn't a good one. You know, I grew up, the crap we did, man, and the way I behaved in my early years of my life.
Were you just a dang anarchist or whatever?
Yeah, apparently. I did all kinds of just redneck stupid stuff, but I you know, I needed to be a better person, and it turns out again, better people have better lives. So the whole character shift through the faith walk of meeting Jesus and changing that, you know, it cleaned up my view of things. It cleaned up my actions and how I react and those kinds of things. Because, I mean, again, I grew up where it was, you know, a Scotch-Irish thing. It's like a temper thing going on. So you can't do that and win out there. You can't be a jerk everywhere. And so you got to go in, you know, they don't want you back on the show if you're a butt in the green room.
Yeah.
You know? And so it turns out that all worked out for me. So, you know, the retransformation, the be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, Romans says in the Bible. And so the renewing of my mind over 45 years. And I'm not arrived, don't misunderstand, but I'm, like I said earlier, I'm a lot better husband than I was. I mean, even with my grandbabies, I'm playing my grandbabies. My kids are like, "Who are you?"
Right.
I'm like, well, I can hand this one back. This one smells bad. It's broke. You can take that one home. But yeah, who are you, Papa Dave? I mean, come on, man. You wouldn't let us get by with that crap. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I had to make you behave. But whatever, you can take this one home. You can teach it. But yeah, it's central to everything. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. It affects how I deal with kids, marriage, affects my money, affects how I lead in the business, affects our decisions in the marketplace. So yeah, I guess it's central to everything if you want to look at it that way. But it's changed my life.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, absolutely, completely.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, man. It's nice to hear. Did you, when you look at your future now, like what are things that you still want to do? You've had so much success and such the opportunity to lead people to make financial choices. You helped my stepdad paid off our house because of knowledge he learned from you.
Wow,
yeah, I remember
very
that.
Cool.
And so it took him a little bit, but I remember one day he told me he'd heard it, and then probably 11 years later, 8 years later, or something, he said, "The house is paid off."
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I love it.
What are things that still excite you?
You know, things that move the needle, and I get to see something move with a little bit of scale out there where we can affect someone's life. And then I run into them. I went in, and, you know, this YouTube thing with 1.5 billion downloads on that thing now, it's a whole new market that talk radio was old white guys, right? Listeners,
Yeah.
right? But YouTube's youngsters. And so Sharon and I were in Best Buy. And these two kids are like 17 years old, run up like I'm some kind of freaking rock star or something. They're like, "Man, I love your YouTube stuff," whatever. And it's like, "Man, I just paid cash for my first car because of watching you. This stuff on TikTok's so funny." And man, thank you. And it was like, Sharon's like, "Golly, they're 17 years old, man. It's great."
Yeah, it's gotta make you feel good.
That kind of stuff is makes it worth coming down here every day and you know, flipping on the switch on the microphone, coming up with something, figuring out a way to connect and be authentic. You got to be real about it. You can't just you can't manipulate these platforms. They're too nuanced, and there's people can see a fake a mile away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's true. I think, well, it's interesting. Yeah, I think especially now there's so much stuff out there. It's like, yeah, you want to try and be as authentic you can as to your own experience, you know. And you've had a lot of great experiences, and so you want to be able to share those, you know, in a way that feels comfortable to people. And obviously, you guys have been doing that and doing it really well. Yeah, what do you say to somebody like right now? Like, what is some of your just basic advice, Dave? If there's somebody who's, you know, they feel like maybe they don't have a chance or something, what would you give what's your kind of pep talk, your financial guidance for somebody like that? Somebody who's just like, you know, they don't know if they can figure it out. They don't know if they have a ton of hope for themselves. You can't change everything about them, but what are some things you remind them of?
Yeah. Dr. John Deloney, that's one of our Ramsey personalities on our team, has done a lot of trauma studies. He's got a PhD in counseling. And he says when you're in the middle of trauma, like he's been on police calls when they go in and there's a murder or a suicide or something in the home, extreme trauma. And your body physically reacts to trauma. And he says the way to walk through those things is facts are your friends. Your feelings are not true. And so when you feel stuck and hopeless, you got to back out and start looking about, okay, here's the numbers, and here's the reality of the marketplace. Facts are your friends. And so oftentimes when someone calls on the Ramsey Show, that's all we're doing. They call up and they're overwhelmed, they're frozen, they're paralyzed, they don't know what to do. And we're going, no, wait a minute, how much you make a year? We make $100,000. Okay. And so, and we're stuck. We can't move. We can't figure out what to do. I'm like, okay, how much you owe on your car? $56,000. Okay. All right. And how much, do you have in retirement? Nothing. Okay. How old are you? I'm 26. Okay. All right. And, okay. Now, so the facts are that you really have plenty of money coming in and you bought a car you can't afford. Sell a stupid car.
Yeah.
He goes, oh man, you're like a genius. It's like sixth grade math. It's like, so, but all we did was peel back the drama that our bodies just freeze up. We just get in hopelessness.
Yeah, freeze is a response to trauma and freezing up.
We're stuck and we don't know what to do. And all we do is cut the dadgum trees down so you can see the forest, and you can't see the forest for the trees. And so, okay, here's your reality. And it's like, a lady called not long ago and she said, they're foreclosing on my house Friday. What am I going to do? I said, I don't know. It was Monday. We have 5 days. What are we going to do? I don't know. I said, one thing you can do is just go get another house. She went, you can do that? I went, yeah, just go get something to rent. People will rent to you? Yeah, people will rent to you. So you're not going to be homeless. She made $120,000 a year. And so I'm like, what? We'll just go get you another house. But let's learn about the details of the foreclosure and see if we can stop it. We were able to actually figure out how to stop the foreclosure. But the reality was her whole life was coming to an end on Friday, and it's a house. There's one on every corner. Just go get another one.
Yeah.
It's like, but we get just, we get just hammered. We had another one that was really sad. A lady was being foreclosed on, a different one, and her husband, 36 years old, was a roofer. He fell through the roof and got killed. And she's got 2 little kids, and workers' comp didn't pay out. They waited like forever. So the house got behind. And she's getting ready to be foreclosed on. And we're like, she owed $60,000 on a $300,000 house. I'm like, no, you are not getting foreclosed on. We are stopping this. This is not happening. You're a widow. Somebody's going to take care of you. And another roofing guy called our office while we're on the air and caught the house up. So, I mean, he said, we're going to take care. Other people stepped in and heard the story, started taking care of us. So you're not getting foreclosed on. I'm 100% sure it's not going to happen. We're not losing this house, $300,000 house for $60K. So, but she was completely overwhelmed. Other people had taken her power. The situation, the variables had taken her power. She could not see. She was frozen up. And all we did was we weren't there. And so we weren't frozen up, and we could see what everybody listening, everybody watching could see the same thing. Of course, we're not going to let that house get sold. Yeah. Nothing else. You sell it for $200,000 before Friday. You're not going to give it away for $60,000. So we're going to do something. But
fear, people get stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all we do.
Is unlock them.
Yep.
Help unlock them.
Yep, with facts.
With facts. To somebody that's starting out right now, they're just starting out in the world. They got their first couple of jobs. They just got out of college. How much money do they need to save if they want to have some freedom in the future? What do you tell them, Dave?
Well, the first thing we tell them is get out of debt, everything but the house, and then have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. We call it the baby steps. There they are. And so once you're at baby step 3 and you have 3 to 6 months of expenses, you don't have any payments but a house payment.
So you save 3 to 6 months. You have savings to pay off for 3 to 6 months in case something happens.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
a rainy day fund. It's not a I want a bass boat. It's a rainy day fund. It's not a I need a new couch. It's a rainy day fund. You don't touch that. If you're going to buy something else, you save up and pay for it. Then, but to answer your question, baby step 4 is invest 15% of your income. When you don't have any payments except a house payment, you can save 15% of your income. And the average household income in America right now is $72,000 a year. If you save 15% of $72,000 from 30 to 65, you're going to have about $5 million in your mutual funds. So
Say that again.
So if I'm like 5x wrong, you're still a millionaire. Shut up. You know? So you really can't screw this up. It's like, but you can screw it up because you live in America and you can get a $1,200 car payment for a freaking car you can't afford to impress people at a stoplight who don't even care about you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we do instead. Or I need another truck, you know, or I need another whatever. I mean, I'm the same guy. But, yeah, so then we save for kids' college. 6 is what your stepdad did. We pay off the house early in 11 years. By the way, oddly enough, 11 years is the average millionaire that paid off their houses in 11 years, 11.2 years in the study that we were talking about earlier. So
that's one of the things that people did to become millionaires.
yeah, they walked right. We call them baby steps millionaires. They walked right up this. They get their house paid off in an average of 11 years. Some of them 7 years, some of them 14, but an average of 11.
Wow.
And then when you don't have a house payment, dude, I mean, that's $2,000-3,000 a month.
Oh, yeah,
You got
dude.
bank to be generous with, bank to be investing, and
Yeah, you can take a bath.
You're stacking cash.
You can
man.
relax at your house and get in the
Stacking
bathtub.
cash. That's it. That's the
God,
one.
baby,
Yeah.
that's what I want. You can I'll buy a dang bird bath and sit in that thing. If I'm debt free, I'll sit in the front yard in there and use some just soap up. Dave Ramsey, anything else that you want to share with that you think? We've covered a lot of neat stuff, I think. I feel like we've been through a lot of avenues.
It was an honor to be with you.
Yeah, you too,
I'm
man.
impressed with what you're doing. It's so good.
Well, thanks,
You're
man.
doing good
Yeah, I
work.
just
your
feel
career,
like
watching your career and watching you clean up and get right and doing stuff. I watched your content shift. You're doing really good. You're doing great. I'm proud to know you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, that I remember my stepdad said that, and then like 2 years ago, I'll be like, man, wouldn't it be crazy if we got to have Dave Ramsey on, you know? And then here we get to.
And then you could tell him you were underwhelmed. So there you go.
But we didn't lose hope, man.
Anyway, that's true.
We didn't lose hope.
That's true.
And so, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for the guidance. You guys can check out the Ramsey Show. And then there's just so many YouTube clips. Like if you want, I mean, there's probably a clip for almost everything these days.
Yeah.
You know, for everything you want to find out about finances, how to take care of yourself, how to move forward. They can call into the show daily. No.
Every day.
They can call into. You can call into his show every day if you have a question. And there's some great videos of some of the best questions that they've had online as well. Dave Ramsey, thanks so much, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it, and best of luck. And I hope to see you around town sometime.
Well, hang.
Now I'm just floating on the breeze, and I feel I'm falling like these leaves. I must be cornerstone. Oh,